Hey, what is going on, comic book familia? And welcome to a new episode of There's Something About. When I was a kid reading comics, I would basically read the book without really looking who the writer was until I started reading the X-Men books. This episode will focus on comic book writer Chris Claremont. If you know the X-Men, you probably know some of the characters Chris Claremont helped turn into comic book icons. For more than a decade, Claremont shaped the X-Men into one of Marvel's most important and influential franchises. His career is a story of persistence, imagination, and a writer who helped redefine what superhero comics could be. Imagine opening a comic book in the 1970s and discovering a superhero team that didn't feel like a team at all. They argued, they disagreed, they worried about the future. They fell in love, suffered heartbreak, and sometimes wondered whether they were doing the right thing. That was the world Chris Claremont helped create. Chris Claremont was born in England in 1950 and moved to the United States as a child. He joined Marvel Comics in the late 1960s, initially working in various editorial and writing roles. His first professional scripting assignment was Daredevil number 102. His first title into regular comics writing was Iron Fist in Marvel Premiere number 23. His breakthrough came when he began writing Uncanny X-Men in the mid 1970s. At the time, the X-Men were far from Marvel's biggest stars, but Claremont saw enormous potential in the team and developed them as characters with complicated personalities, relationships, fears, and ambitions. Claremont's long run on the X-Men became legendary, working with artists such as Dave Cockrum and John Byrne, and later many others. He helped create stories that pushed the characters far beyond traditional superhero adventures. He developed or transformed characters, including Wolverine, Storm, Kitty Pryde, Rogue, and Mystique, while building memorable relationships and conflicts between the heroes. One of his greatest strengths was making the X-Men feel like a family who struggled with the responsibilities that came with their powers. That was the world Chris Claremont helped create. Then came some of the most famous stories in comic book history. The Dark Phoenix saga pushed Jean Grey toward unimaginable power and forced the X-Men to confront an impossible choice. Days of Future Past imagine a terrifying future where mutants were hunted and imprisoned, and that is by far my most favorite series storyline. These stories were dramatic, emotional, and serialized. Characters changed, relationships evolved, decision had consequences. By the 1980s, the X-Men had become one of Marvel's biggest properties, and Claremont was a major reason why. Claremont eventually left the X-Men in 1991 after roughly 16 years of shaping the franchise, but his career didn't stop there. He continued writing comics for Marvel and other publishers, working on characters and series including Fantastic Four, Excalibur, Captain Marvel, and Star Wars, and also Miss Marvel. He also returned to the X-Men multiple times over the years. His influence extended beyond individual stories. The character-driven serialized approach he helped popularize became a major part of modern superhero storytelling. Chris Claremont's greatest legacy may be that he helped provide superhero comics could tell long-form stories with emotional depth and complex characters. His work influenced generations of writers, artists, filmmakers, and fans. And when audiences watch an X-Men movie, read a new X-Men comic book, or talk about characters like Wolverine, Storm, Rogue, or Jean Grey, they're often experiencing ideas that Claremont helped develop decades ago. So, if you're looking at the history of modern comic books, Chris Claremont isn't just part of the story. He's one of the writers who helped change it. I hope you like this episode of There's Something About featuring Chris Claremont. I'm going to try to do them once a week, like I said previously. But until next time, everybody, I always say go out and buy a comic book and read it. Take care.